Welcome back. It's 8:19, 56 degrees. It's Jack and Dave in the morning, and as we do occasionally, and for my money, not enough, we talked to Jason from Turbine. I always want to call
Turbine
it
Digital, yeah.
Yeah, I always want to call it Interact.
I know. It's a year in. You'll get there.
For a branding guy, I'm really pathetic. I'm sorry about that.
You're all good.
Turbine Digital. Jason, how are you?
Good. What's up, Dave?
Jason Peterson has the inside track on everything, including something Twitter's going to do.
Yeah. Well, it's been, I think, about time. Twitter, a lot of these social media networks are growing up and putting their big boy pants on, and Twitter is the latest one to say we're going to go through an IPO and go public. So pretty big news.
All right, so it took, what do I want to say, 9 months before they got to the place where they went, okay, Facebook is going to make some money off this. What can Twitter do not to be the pathetic losers that Facebook is?
Well, I think, first of all, Facebook's valuation was astronomical. I mean, this is in the era where everybody assumed you were going to make billions of dollars in returns right away. And, Twitter is being valued at $1.3 billion or $1 billion, which is a fraction. So I think that's the first thing, is they're not overvaluing themselves, which is really, really smart. But otherwise, I think it's their chance to now. I mean, Twitter has been a really strong social media network for a variety of uses and reasons. But I think to go up to that next level where bigger brands, professional brands, and even small businesses in terms of brands that we work with at Turbine, I think you're going to start seeing some evolutionary changes that'll help it.
Is there's still even a bigger generational gap for Twitter users than there are Facebook users, and I realize there's for both, but I think that's much bigger for Twitter. And in order for it to really have widespread acceptance, they need to break that still, don't they? Maybe they're starting to, but
it's interesting. You're dead on. The growth in terms of the user base has been percentage-wise substantially more than Facebook. But you're right, in terms of I think the generational disconnect, Facebook has been growing big time in the people, the baby boomers and younger. Twitter, on the other hand, is obviously was really spawned by the younger generation and has grown up. But definitely there's going to have to be some things that are done to eliminate those obstacles. So people like my parents' age would actually use Twitter.
It's interesting to me that Facebook is trying to compete with Twitter, although Twitter is valued so much less than Facebook. And the as far as I'm concerned, the failed attempt that they tried to do on Facebook with a hashtag, it's interesting that Zuckerberg sees that it's a threat, but it's valued so little. Is there actually money to be made off this, do you think, as an IPO?
I think that's the magic question. Is it obviously?
If I knew that, obviously, I would not have a radio show.
But it's a good question. I wonder, how do they monetize it? Because you don't even have the advertising opportunities that you do on Facebook, which I assume is how they're driving a lot of their profits.
I think with their feeds, there are going to be some specific positioning of brands. They're going to probably follow some of the suit that Instagram has been starting to do with some of their opportunities for brands for engagement. They got to be careful, though. They have a really vibrant ecosystem. I mean, they're millions of users. I'd have to check the latest number, but it's substantial. I mean, they're obviously not at 1 billion users, but they're in the 300 to 500 million user base. So it's really, really strong. But at the end of the day, they got to make money, and that's going to be the question that everybody's asking.
Yeah, you got to pay people to keep those servers humming. So
absolutely,
I think Facebook benefits the same way that Apple does. There's a certain amount of branding that you do and a certain amount of success that you get, and then you can just ride that for a while. And I think that's where Apple is now too, and they're coming out with a rollout when is it October or November for the iPad now?
October 22nd. So that's a good analogy. We were just reading an article where Samsung is the one that's kind of doing a lot of the innovations, and then Apple is tending to kind of doing more of the refinements. So they're kind of riding that wave, much like Facebook, where they're kind of waiting to see where the things are happening, and they refine their products as a result of that.
That's a good comparison. Yeah.
Now, I think the thing that a lot of people forget, now, Apple's known for its big brash innovations, but a lot of their innovations are stemmed from existing technology being around that sucks. So they've often looked at something in the marketplace, like back in the day with the iPod, MP3 players are out there, and they sucked. And they ultimately said,
well, they were okay, but they'd only hold one song, and
the
sound was a little weird. So they came up with their own format that was stable.
Exactly.
And then you were able to expand.
It's the mass adoption. You're right. I mean, for ourselves here, we were fine. But I think that's what they're often doing. And whether they can effectively do that and wait and not lose market share. Because, again, I think the iPad will be a nice refinement. It's going to be, I think, shorter or thinner on the sides, much like the iPad mini. They might have the fingerprint authentication, which personally I don't really care about.
Don't care.
I don't. No, I really don't either. But intriguingly, I've been shocked that the 5S has been the top-selling phone compared to the 5Cs.
The more expensive one.
The more expensive one, which I was totally like. My mom got her first iPhone, which was awesome, and she got a 5C, and I was expecting those to fly off the shelves.
Yeah. But they're advertising. It feels like the advertising is much more. The 5C, I've seen that commercial a million times this week where they have all the colorful people talking on the phone.
Well, and I think that's part of what we've been talking about. Apple knows that they're going to get the high-end clients.
Right.
And notice Apple always does this too. Their third version of something, they put colors on it, they make it smaller. That's a new phone. Does your mom like the phone? That's the question.
Does. So far, she's loving it. This is really the first sort of bleeding edge technology she's ever had. So I think the witnessing and watching this is helping me sort of understand: can they still cut it? Can they still do it with someone that is a new adoption, or that's a new adopter, I should say? And at least so far they're doing it, but they got to keep it up. They can't get stagnant.
It sounds like, though, you don't expect anything groundbreaking from this iPad announcement. Though. I mean, you described what you thought maybe was coming. I mean, that doesn't knock me off my chair by any means. The fingerprint thing I think would be cool, but we've heard that's coming anyway. So
I think they've got to show me yet. Ever since Steve Jobs obviously passed away, they have not had that big bang announcement. Apple TV's they've talked about that for a long time. I'm waiting for them to now take some sort of disruption opportunity in a market or in a product and find a way to make it better and launch it. If they don't do that in October, they're going to have to wait quite a while because, you're going to get into holiday season and stuff like that. So this would be the right time. If they want to do something, they should do it before the holidays hit.
Tablet market's weird, because it's sort of iPad was the only thing out there. Now there's tons of them. It's hard to even tell. I mean, it's hard to kind of wade through it. What's out the iPad's still the most expensive, but then they had the mini, but there hasn't been huge advancements there. The market is a ton more flooded now than it used to be. If I wanted to buy a tablet, I don't even know where I would start now if I was thinking about buying a tablet for this holiday season.
It would be difficult. I go down, and I've said this before, it's the quality of the apps. The apps will dictate the best type of tablet to buy. I don't care about your brand. At least from my experience, including the Android tablets I've had and used, even the Microsoft ones that have totally flopped, Apple still seems to have the best tablet ecosystem. The phone one may be up for discussion because, Android has some pretty solid apps. But overall, the tablet apps that are best, it would still go to the iPad.
Which is interesting because I think Apple lost a customer in our house.
I heard that.
Mrs. Miller doesn't like OS 7. She had her she had her phone for like 3 days, and then they did the switch. She can't stand it.
What bugged her the most? Any
I don't.
Thing?
No, she just doesn't like the way.
I just hate you can't go from week to week on the calendar.
That's a big thing to her. And I told her, there are other calendar apps. She said, "Why should I have to pay for that? That should be built in,
I agree.
And it should be usable." And I kind of agree with that. But she's willing to go back to Samsung because she doesn't like it that much.
Wow, that's saying something. By the way, speaking of Samsung, and you were just referencing it earlier, there have been these articles about how Samsung's kind of been the leader in trying things first, and there's the watch and those sorts of things. They're releasing a cell phone that's slightly curved. I don't know if it's supposed to be more ergonomically correct or what it is, but it's on the Android system, and this was getting some buzz yesterday. What do you think? Is this the new trend in phones, a slight curvature?
This is another one of those. I can't tell if it's going to gain traction, like the watch that they did for Samsung. It's cool. It's cool technology. It's interesting. It's intriguing. I'm not sure if there's, other than some basic ergonomic benefits, right out of the gate that's going to be real beneficial. But if they start to realize how to bend this, and there can be some crazy things that could happen as a result of that. So there's the disruption is maybe we don't see how much it helps right now, but more or less how much it's going to help down the road.
And that's really what this is kind of a precursor and find out what the marketplace is like for a bendable phone, which they've been working on since phones have been invented.
The one cool thing when I looked at the video is we both, Jason, you and I both have our phones sitting out in front of us right now. You're able to, if it's lying horizontally, you're able to press on the bottom of the phone and kind of flip it up towards you, and it turns on and it gives you the time and your notifications or whatever. I can still do that by pressing the button, I guess, on my phone right now. But that's kind of for some reason that seemed like the only real appeal to me.
Yeah, it was.
Which
it was
isn't much.
You could rock it back and forth, which was cute. And you're right. But to me, it's kind of like Google Glass. I don't really know if these first levels of technology are going to be the disruption per se, but in terms of what happens after that, that's what's going to be really interesting.
There you go. All right, good stuff as always. Jason from Turbine Digital. You can get more information on Turbine Digital at thisisturbine.com. Read the blog, follow him on Facebook, Twitter, all those things. Am I missing anything?
I think you're
You're
good,
all
man.
over.
We're doing our best, and we moved to a new office, so check us out sometime.
No kidding.
Yeah, we're south of 48th and Randolph. So.
Very good, very good. All right. Oh, you're close now.
Yes, we are.
All right. Talk to you again soon, all right,
All
Jason?
right, gentlemen. See you, man.
8:30, Jack and Dave in the morning, KLIN.